We'll see if they move. I mean, you saw Bill.
They're going to move.
Well, look,
they're already moving.
Hold on, Bill Ackman threatened.
No, they're not.
Hold on.
People say they're going to move all the time after elections.
Listen,
they don't do it.
Bill Ackman said he was going to move.
You know how many people moved out of New York City in the last 3 years? 600,000. They're moving.
Yeah, they're moving. They've been moving from COVID.
You know how many people moved out of your state, California?
Oh, I know. No,
Under Newsom?
Yeah, no. People do move. There's no doubt about that. People move in America, and you're right.
Apparently, a massive wave of people is leaving blue states, and the sheer scale of it is truly staggering. You'd expect these liberal strongholds to implement policies that make daily life more livable for their residents, yet reality tells a very different story. On a recent episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, the candid host shared his take on why so many are heading for the exits, and his perspective is genuinely intriguing. There's a lot to unpack in his comments, so let's dive right in.
Do you think that Mamdani's election will lead more financial organizations to leave New York City for Wall Street South in Florida? Tell me, I've read that term just recently, Wall Street South, Florida. This is your state. What is that?
A lot of Wall Street guys have moved to Palm Beach. It's been happening really since COVID. It's accelerated with increases in taxes. It's not just out of New York. It's New Jersey, Connecticut, it's Chicago, it's California.
So they're fleeing high-tax blue states for Florida.
Maher raised a sharp question about why so many businesses are abandoning blue states in favor of Florida, and he immediately supplied his own answer: high taxes. Yet that explanation barely scratches the surface. As he framed it, the economic strain in these liberal states has become overwhelming for companies struggling to survive. And it isn't only businesses feeling the pressure, regular residents are packing up as well. In a moment, we'll show you the clips that break down what's fueling this migration and reveal the other forces pushing people out of blue states. From restrictive regulations to skyrocketing living costs, there's a far deeper story behind this growing exodus, and it's one worth paying close attention to.
This is the luckiest guy in the world that Mamdani got elected, because his district is going to explode. My house, I live 8 miles outside of Queens, has gone up 20% in value since Mamdani announced. Okay? Because people aren't going to pay the punishing taxes. New York is the highest tax state in the union.
But you said your house value has gone up.
Yeah, because they're moving to Nassau County.
Oh, they're moving out of the city.
Out of the city, and they can still take the train back in the city and not pay the millionaire's tax or whatever crazy thing this guy wants.
O'Reilly lays out his case for why so many people are abandoning New York, and he pins it on one central issue: Mamdani's dreaded millionaire tax. New York hosts a disproportionately large share of America's wealthiest individuals. Some of the nation's top-earning millionaires and billionaires live there, contributing about 60% of the country's tax revenue. That makes the city's financial stability heavily reliant on them. So when talk of yet another tax hike surfaced, it wasn't just controversial, it felt unbearable to those already carrying most of the load. Yet Mamdani appeared unfazed by the potential fallout. After winning the mayoral race and signaling his intent to push the increase through, the response was immediate. High-income earners began leaving, taking their wealth, and the tax dollars New York depends on, with them. O'Reilly argues this wasn't some unexpected fluke. It was the inevitable result of policies that penalized the very people keeping the city running.
What people don't understand is he can't raise the taxes unless the state okays it, and the state is not going to okay it. So this is just smoke and mirrors. And the younger people voted for him.
Sure, Mamdani would still need state approval before his proposed millionaire's tax could ever become a reality, and given the current political climate, the odds of the state signing off are extremely low. And that's where the deeper issue emerges. This isn't just a procedural hurdle. It reflects directly on Mamdani's credibility. He campaigned hard on the promise that he'd make the wealthy pay their fair share, framing the millionaire's tax as a defining achievement voters could rely on. But with the state showing no willingness to support his plan, that pledge is beginning to look more like political performance than serious policy. Supporters who expected real tax reform are now wondering whether he exaggerated his clout or underestimated the system he promised to overhaul. Either way, the chances of this tax ever being enacted are slim, leaving Mamdani's unkept promise lingering awkwardly over his administration.
They're moving.
Yeah, they're moving. They've been moving from COVID.
You know how many people moved out of your state, California?
Oh, I know. No,
Under Newsom?
Yeah, no. People do move. There's no doubt about that. People move in America, and you're right.
It's almost as if Representative Jared is refusing to acknowledge what's right in front of him. People aren't leaving blue states because they're suddenly craving adventure. They're leaving because the economic policies have become unlivable. Look at New York. More than 500,000 residents have already moved out, pushed away by constant tax increases and an economic climate that feels more punishing than supportive. Then there's California, the prime example of overregulation, where nearly 1 million people have fled after growing exhausted with its sprawling bureaucracy and some of the nation's highest taxes. Yet even with numbers this stark, Jared continues brushing off the crisis, treating these massive departures as coincidences or temporary blips. But the reality is impossible to ignore. People are voting with their feet, and their message couldn't be clearer. These policies just aren't working.
No, but they're not moving because they want a better view. They like to keep more of their money that they earn.
Yeah, that's true.
Florida is a really good case study. So when DeSantis became governor, there were 250,000 more registered Democrats in Florida when he became governor 8 years ago. Now there's 1.4 million more registered Republicans in Florida. That's all migration from COVID and re-registration from COVID, 100%. Right. So it absolutely is happening. Whether they will abandon New York in droves, I mean, Bill Ackman's a really good example. He said he was going to leave, right? He's been going after Mamdani. He spent a lot of money on him. And then the day Mamdani won, he said, I'm willing to talk and sit down and work with you.
You can practically watch the Democratic politicians scramble for excuses in real time, rather than facing the undeniable reality that people are abandoning blue states because daily life has become unbearably expensive and restrictive. He tries to twist the story by pointing to Florida. But that argument collapses instantly. If this were truly a post-COVID shuffle or some pandemic-driven trend, migration wouldn't be so overwhelmingly one way. So the real question is this. If it's all just a natural adjustment after COVID, why are almost all moves from blue states to red states? Why aren't hordes leaving Florida, Texas, or Tennessee for New York or California? The answer is crystal clear to anyone paying attention. People are flocking to red states for lower taxes, lighter regulations, safer communities, and a more manageable cost of living. The numbers don't lie.
The working people at a certain level are going to say, I'm going to the congressman's state because there's no state tax there. There's no local tax there. I get to keep more of my money. This isn't complicated.
Well, I've looked at moving because I'd like to keep more of my money too. And
where should Maher move?
I'm not moving anywhere. I'm not moving anywhere.
No?
No.
Not going to stay?
And the taxes here are ridiculous, but it's still Southern California.
Right.
Okay.
Maher might stick around California out of nostalgia, the pull of decades of memories, deep roots, and a sense of home that's hard to shake. But for countless others, feelings simply can't outweigh the stark reality of life in the Golden State. Tens of thousands have packed up and left because sky-high taxes no longer translate into the quality of life they promise. Californians face some of the steepest tax rates in the country, yet the state's most pressing problems remain stubbornly unresolved. With all that revenue, you'd think wildfires would be better managed, roads and bridges upgraded, or homelessness meaningfully addressed. Instead, residents watch their hard-earned dollars vanish into a system that seems incapable or unwilling to deliver. For many, the gap between promise and reality is just too wide, making leaving the only sensible option.
I see today the Trump administration, they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you?
Well, I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't.
This might not be the main reason Californians are packing up, but it's certainly one of the issues that grates on many residents. Policies and rhetoric that paint teachers as snitches for informing parents about their children's decisions to transition simply don't sit right with a lot of people. These are parents, the very individuals legally and morally responsible for their kids' well-being. Telling them they should be kept in the dark about something as profound and life-altering as a gender transition feels not just illogical, but deeply unsettling. For many families, this isn't about politics. It's about the basic right to know what's happening with their own children. When the state seems to prioritize secrecy over transparency, it breeds distrust. While it may not top the list of reasons people leave California, it's undeniably one of the cultural flashpoints making residents question whether the state still reflects their values.
I was on KBLA
Yeah.
yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want for running president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win.
Many people are growing increasingly frustrated with Gavin Newsom because of the path he's taken California down. Critics argue that if this is how he runs a single state, one with immense resources and global clout, then elevating him to the presidency would be a gamble few are willing to take. As a result, a notable number of voters say they won't support him as the Democratic Party's nominee, feeling his track record fails to inspire confidence. Beyond disagreements over his embrace of progressive policies, there's a deeper concern. Many question whether Newsom has the competence and disciplined leadership necessary to tackle the nation's complex challenges. From spiraling homelessness to soaring costs and ongoing governance controversies, critics see a pattern of mismanagement rather than meaningful solutions. For these disillusioned voters, the idea of him running the entire country raises more red flags than optimism, driving them to look elsewhere for leadership. Ultimately, the mass exodus from blue states like California and New York tells a story that can't be ignored. Sky-high taxes, burdensome regulations, and policies that feel increasingly disconnected from everyday realities are pushing residents and businesses toward more stable, affordable, and manageable environments, usually in red states. Politicians who try to downplay or spin these trends risk appearing out of touch, clinging to narratives that don't match the lived experiences of their constituents, whether it's economic pressure, cultural clashes, or governance frustrations. People are voting with their feet, and the numbers speak for themselves. For policymakers and observers, this should serve as a wake-up call. Ignoring these warning signs has consequences. States that fail to balance ambition with practicality risk losing the very residents who sustain them, while voters increasingly demand leadership that aligns with both their values and their day-to-day realities. Migration patterns act as a clear mirror, reflecting policy successes and failures alike. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.